That morning, Melissa suspected nothing. It was a big day, her presentation was scheduled, and she sent her husband Ethan off with a smile. Everything felt normal. But around noon, her phone buzzed with a message. "I can't come home. I'm sorry. You'll hear from my lawyer soon." No explanation. No warning. Just like that, 7 years of marriage was shattered. And a few hours later, someone knocked at her door. Her sister. "He called me yesterday," Brooke said. That single sentence unraveled everything Melissa thought she knew. Melissa Grayson's life had a comfortable rhythm: wake up, drink coffee with 2 blocks of sugar while checking her design portfolio, kiss her husband Ethan goodbye as he heads out to his architectural firm, then off she goes to her own design agency. The predictability of the daily routine she'd built over 7 years of marriage was her anchor. That March morning was no different. She placed her coffee cup in the sink and checked her reflection in the hallway mirror. At 34, the slight shadows under her eyes betrayed the late nights spent on the Henderson project deadline. "Don't forget about your concept presentation today," she called to Ethan as he closed his laptop in the living room. "I might be late." "Good luck." Ethan nodded. "I've got dinner with clients tonight. And I'll be in Chicago for work tomorrow. Just 3 days though. Text me when you arrive," she said. It was their usual parting words. She had no way of knowing this would be their last goodbye. The presentation was a success. Her team had perfectly captured the client's vision, and by 6 p.m., they were celebrating with champagne. Melissa texted Ethan to share the good news. "So proud of you. Enjoy your night," his reply came promptly, complete with a heart emoji. That night, lying in bed, Melissa sent her usual voice message: "I hope you're doing well." The presentation went really well. They loved the sustainable materials concept. "I'll tell you all about it when you get back. Miss you already." For the next 2 days, their communication remained normal. Brief text exchanges, nightly voice messages, photos from his hotel in Chicago. Nothing seemed out of place. The morning Ethan was due to return, Melissa woke up early to prepare his favorite breakfast. As she sliced fruit, she looked forward to hearing about his trip. Then her phone chimed. A message from Ethan: "Melissa, I can't come home. I'm truly sorry. I can't explain right now, but I promise we'll talk soon. You'll be hearing from my lawyer." She read it over and over. The knife slipped from her hand, clattering loudly on the floor. With fruit juice still sticky on her fingers, she stood frozen. She called him, but he didn't answer. Voicemail, texts, nothing came back. By noon, she was sitting on the kitchen floor, surrounded by the now cold breakfast, her back against the refrigerator. 7 years of marriage ended without explanation. The doorbell rang. Through the peephole, she saw her sister Brooke, arms full of shopping bags, her disheveled red hair framing a concerned expression. "I've been calling you," Brooke said as soon as the door opened. Then, seeing Melissa's tear-stained face, she simply said, "Oh, you already know." "Know what?" Melissa's voice sounded distant even to herself. Brooke's eyes widened slightly. "About Ethan. He called me yesterday. Asked me to check on you today." "He called you?" "Before me." The words felt heavy in Melissa's mouth. "I can't believe it. I thought he would talk to you directly." Brooke set down her bags and embraced her sister. As she turned away, a fleeting expression crossed her face, something unreadable. While Brooke cleaned up the cold breakfast in the kitchen, Melissa sat at the counter, staring into her tea. "I don't understand," she whispered. "Everything was fine." "People change," Brooke said, pausing momentarily in her movements. "Or maybe, they never showed their true selves to begin with." As evening fell, Melissa curled up on the sofa. From the guest room, she could hear Brooke speaking quietly to someone. She's really devastated. Don't come now. The fragments drifted through the apartment. Brooke returned, announcing, I'm staying with you for a while. You don't have to do that, Melissa protested weakly. I'm freelance. I can work from anywhere. I can't leave you alone right now. Melissa had no energy to argue. That night, lying in what had been their marital bed, she sent one last message. Please, at least tell me why. It remained unread. In the darkness of the guest room, the blue glow of Brooke's phone briefly illuminated her face before fading to black. 3 weeks had passed. Legal documents arrived in a cold and impersonal way while Brooke made herself at home in Melissa's apartment, flowers on the table, healthy meals in the refrigerator, and constant attentiveness from the guest room. You need to eat properly, she said one evening, placing pasta in front of Melissa. I'm not hungry. Eat anyway, Brooke's voice was gentle but firm. You've lost weight. Your team needs you. After a few bites, Melissa asked, How did you know? That Ethan was leaving? Brooke's hand froze momentarily as she reached for her water. I told you. He called me. But why you? You and I weren't that close. I'm your only family, aren't I? Brooke returned her gaze steadily. Is that so important? That night, reviewing photos, Melissa noticed something unsettling. In recent pictures, Brooke and Ethan always stood close together, engaged in what looked like intimate conversation. She searched her memory. Since when had they become so close? The next day, while Brooke showered, her phone received a message. Melissa knew she shouldn't look, but her growing suspicion won out. The lock screen displayed, Can we talk tonight? She's getting suspicious. A twisting feeling in her stomach. Could be anyone. Emily, Edward, not necessarily Ethan. But the seed of doubt had been planted. That evening, Melissa followed Brooke, who had left dressed too meticulously for a simple, quick shopping trip. 6 blocks away, at a cafe, she watched as Brooke slid into a booth, and then Ethan appeared. The world tilted beneath her feet. They spoke intimately, Brooke's hand touching Ethan's arm in a gesture that contained something more than a concerned sister-in-law's touch. With trembling hands gripping the steering wheel, Melissa drove home. An hour later, Brooke returned with a small shopping bag. Oh, you're home early, she said. I bought ice cream. Thought it might cheer you up. I wasn't feeling well, Melissa answered without opening her eyes. The next morning, searching the apartment after Brooke left, Melissa found a men's wristwatch in Brooke's dresser, Ethan's watch, the one she had given him for their 5th anniversary. Her hands shook. Not conclusive, but her suspicions were solidifying. Over the next few days, she noticed several patterns. Brooke's phone was always placed face down, she took calls in the hallway or bathroom, and she grooms herself meticulously before casual outings. One night, waking up at 2 a.m., she heard soft laughter from Brooke's room, the kind shared only with someone intimate. At breakfast, she asked Brooke, Were you on the phone last night? I thought I heard voices. Just a college friend, Brooke answered without meeting her eyes. Time zone difference. The opportunity for proof came when Brooke announced she would attend an all-day design conference. Searching her room, Melissa discovered a second phone hidden in Brooke's bag. When she turned it on, it wasn't locked. The wallpaper showed Brooke and Ethan embracing on a beach. Melissa sank onto the bed. Opening the message history, she found conversations dating back years. Their relationship had begun before Melissa even met Ethan. It's hard not seeing you. I don't want to hurt her. Just a little longer. Recent messages were even more explicit. Brooke, how long are we going to keep playing this game? Ethan, I'm arranging the finances. Keep an eye on her. Brooke, she's starting to suspect something. Ethan, distract her. Not much longer. A new message appeared, still at the conference? Can I come over tonight? Suddenly, the phone rang with Ethan's name on screen. Startled, she accidentally answered. Brooke? Are you there? His voice. Words failed her. She hung up quickly and returned the phone, then powered it off after a follow-up message arrived. Everything okay? Why did you hang up? Hours later, Brooke returned. The conference was amazing, she exclaimed, but stopped seeing Melissa's expression. What's wrong? Nothing, she answered, her voice surprisingly steady. Just tired. Should we order dinner? You should rest. That would be nice, Melissa replied. Far from feeling defeated by this betrayal, she felt strength slowly building within her. It was time to make a plan. 2 days later, Melissa returned to the apartment during her lunch break. Forgot some documents, she texted Brooke. It was a calculated lie. She had chosen this moment carefully when her instincts told her Ethan might visit. Her heart pounded as she turned her key in the lock. The apartment felt different, charged with tension. 2 coffee cups sat on the kitchen counter, still warm to the touch. The sight of them, evidence of betrayal in such an ordinary form, made her stomach clench. She approached the guest room silently. The door was slightly ajar. Through the gap, she could see Ethan sitting on the edge of the bed, with Brooke standing by the window. The sunlight was shining on her sister's red hair, creating a halo effect that seemed cruelly ironic. You should have seen her expression last night, Brooke was saying. She suspects something. Did you move the phone like I said? Ethan leaned forward, his face tense. Yes, I put it in my gym bag. But Ethan, we should tell her. This deception is eating me alive. Not yet, his voice was firm. Wait until the divorce is final. If she finds out now, she might fight it. She's my sister. Brooke's voice cracked. Me living in her home while with her husband, do you realize how cruel this is? You didn't seem to mind when we started. Ethan's laugh was cold, unfamiliar, a sound Melissa had never heard from him before. That's not true. I thought we'd have a clean break, not this twisted deception. Just a few more weeks. Melissa's elbow knocked against a vase, sending it crashing to the floor. The deafening sound of the porcelain shattered her last illusions. The conversation inside fell silent. Melissa. Brooke's voice was laced with panic. Is that you? She pushed the door open fully and stood before them, her body strangely steady despite the earthquake within. Yes, it's me. This tableau would be burned into her memory forever, pale-faced Ethan, Brooke with her back against the window, and between them, the rumpled bed that told its own story. On the nightstand sat Ethan's phone, the very one supposedly receiving all the desperate voice messages she had been sending night after night. I can explain, Ethan began, but she raised her hand to silence him. How long? Her voice was surprisingly calm. They exchanged glances but offered no answer. How long? Each word cut like a knife. It's complicated, Brooke said, her eyes darting around the room. It's actually quite simple, Melissa countered. How long have you been lying to me? We knew each other in college, Ethan finally admitted. Before I met you. The words struck her like a physical blow. Since college? Throughout our entire 7 years together. I ended it when I met you, he quickly added. But it never really ended, she began to understand. The business trips, working late, all lies to be with her. Not all of it, his excuse sounded weak. She turned to her sister. And you? Pretending to help me, living in my home, all while sleeping with my husband? I was really supporting you. Brooke stepped forward. That part wasn't fake. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. You planned this. Melissa's laugh was hollow. Ethan leaves without explanation. You conveniently appear to take care of me, while behind my back, you continue your relationship? I trusted both of you. Her voice finally wavered. You were my husband. And you're my only family after Mom and Dad died. She picked up Ethan's phone from the nightstand. So this is why my messages went unread. This is how you knew about my life. Melissa, please. Brooke moved toward her. He was never yours to begin with. Brooke's voice suddenly turned cold. I had him first. You were just convenient. Stable. The safe choice while he built his career. Stop it, Ethan snapped. No, she deserves the truth now, Brooke continued. He came back because it's me whom he really wants. It's always been me. Melissa stood perfectly still. Deep pain constricted her chest, but simultaneously, a clear anger and calm resolve were quietly burning inside her. She discreetly reached into her bag, took out her phone, and started the recording app in her pocket. The screen went dark as the recording silently began. So, tell me everything, then, her voice remained steady. From the beginning. Brooke, unaware she was being recorded, began talking freely. Their college meeting, their affair after Melissa and Ethan's wedding, the lies they constructed. Ethan occasionally interjected, trying to soften the situation, but the brakes were already off. And what happens next? Melissa asked. After I'm out of the picture? Ethan began, after the divorce is final, we'd wait a while, and then we'd go public with our relationship, she continued flatly. A few seconds of heavy silence fell over the room. Then Melissa pulled her phone from her pocket and showed them the flashing red recording icon. Thanks for the excellent evidence. Your full confession is now documented. Brooke's face was drained of color, and Ethan's eyes widened in shocked realization. What are you going to do? Ethan asked, anxiety evident in his voice. Reclaim the control of my life, she answered with a new strength in her voice. Give me that phone. No, her voice was like steel. This is mine. A small price for 7 years of lies. Brooke, pack your things and be out by tomorrow. Ethan, no need to contact your lawyer. My terms have changed considerably. You would do this to your own sister? Brooke said, ashen-faced. At the door, Melissa turned back. My sister died the moment she chose betrayal. I don't know who you are anymore. As she left the apartment, she could hear them arguing behind her. She got into her car, locked the doors, and finally allowed herself to cry. But beyond the tears, a strange calm spread through her. The worst was over. The uncertainty was gone. The truth, however painful, was liberating in its clarity. And she had survived it. The following week was consumed by legal procedures and practical adjustments. Melissa played the recording for her attorney, Patricia Goldman. The sharp-eyed woman in her 50s listened without changing her expression, her manicured fingers steepled under her chin. This significantly alters our situation, she said, removing her glasses. Infidelity with a relative, deliberate deception, recorded evidence, we have considerable leverage now. I don't want revenge. I just don't want to be used anymore, Melissa replied, surprised by the steadiness in her own voice. I understand. But knowledge is power, Patricia pointed at the phone. This is a powerful weapon. It protects you from being manipulated further. You've been honorable throughout this ordeal. Now it's time to be strategic. That evening when Melissa returned home, the apartment felt oddly empty. Brooke had removed all her belongings, leaving just a single note on the counter, I know you won't forgive me. But I truly regret what happened. It started as a mistake and I couldn't find a way out. I never meant to hurt you like this. B. She crumpled the paper and tossed it in the trash. The words blurred together, excuses, not explanations. There was no room for understanding yet. Survival came first. The next day, Ethan called. His name on the screen sent a jolt through her body, anger, fear, and a traitorous flicker of longing. "Can we talk?" he asked. "Just the two of us. I think we owe each other that much." "Only through my lawyer," she answered, focusing on a spot on the wall to keep her voice level. "Please, Melissa. We were together for 7 years. At least a conversation." There was desperation in his tone. "I made a terrible mistake." For a moment, his voice nearly made her waver. This was the man who had held her through her parents' deaths. But she closed her eyes and steeled herself, remembering the laughter she'd heard from the guest room at 2 a.m. "If we were together for 7 years, you should have been honest. When you chose lies, you lost that right." She ended the call and blocked his number. Another small victory. That evening, her colleague Grace invited her to dinner, her first social outing since discovering the truth. The restaurant was quiet, warm lighting softening the edges of a world that had recently felt too sharp. "You look a bit better," Grace said as they sat at the table. "Still terrible, but better. Less like a ghost." A small smile escaped Melissa's lips, surprising even herself. Grace's honesty was always refreshing, no platitudes, no awkward dancing around the truth. "I don't know how I feel," Melissa admitted. "Broken. Liberated. Angry. Numb. All at once. Sometimes I think I'm handling it well, and then I find myself crying in the grocery store." "That's okay, for now," Grace said firmly. "At least you know you weren't crazy. Those feelings of something being wrong, they were justified." "I should have realized sooner," Melissa said, the familiar guilt creeping in. "Looking back, there were so many signs. Because you trusted them. That's not weakness. That's being a decent human." Grace leaned forward. "They're the broken ones. Not you. Never forget that." Something inside Melissa's chest loosened at those words, a knot of shame she hadn't even recognized was there. The conversation shifted to work. A women's shelter needed designs for a new facility. Their current space was cramped, adding stress to already traumatized women. "The pay isn't great," Grace admitted, "but it's meaningful work. They need someone who understands how spaces affect healing." "Send me the details," Melissa said, feeling a spark of interest for the first time in weeks. "I need to focus on something that matters." That night, in her empty apartment, Melissa began making lists by lamplight: practical matters, find a new place, separate accounts, book counseling. Future goals: complete the shelter project, take a photography course, travel alone. Small joys to reclaim: morning coffee on the balcony, weekend hikes, jazz while cooking. It was the first step in building a new life from the rubble, not just surviving but reimagining what could be. The following week brought her first major victory. Based on the recording, Ethan's lawyer made significant concessions. Initially, they had claimed Melissa's recording was an invasion of privacy, but after Patricia shared the details, they quickly sought a settlement. "What happened?" Melissa asked, puzzled by the sudden change. Patricia's lips curved slightly. "I'm not entirely sure, but rumor has it there was an internal complaint from a young female staff member at his firm. If the content of the recording spread, his professional reputation would be severely damaged." Melissa had mixed feelings about this news. She hadn't orchestrated it, but couldn't help feeling it was karmic justice, the ripples of lies spreading back to their source. In the end, she received rights to the apartment, a larger financial settlement, and full ownership of their joint investments, far more than she would have gotten under normal circumstances. "He's in a hurry to make this go away," Patricia remarked. "What about Brooke?" "Legally speaking, she's not a party to the divorce, but a separate lawsuit is possible. Alienation of affection, emotional distress. No, she said firmly. I just want both of them out of my life. Completely. As the season changed from April to May, Melissa immersed herself in the women's shelter project. She found deep satisfaction in designing spaces with safety and dignity for women in crisis. Ironically, while creating safe places for others, she was reconstructing her own sense of security. During a site visit, she met Elena, the shelter's director, a strong woman in her 60s who had escaped an abusive relationship herself. Her salt and pepper hair was cropped short, and a certain watchfulness remained in her eyes despite decades of healing. You understand what these women need, Elena said, looking at Melissa's designs. The balance between privacy and community. The dignity in the details, spaces that don't feel institutional. I'm trying to understand, Melissa replied. It's not the same experience, but I know what it's like to have your sense of safety collapse overnight. Elena studied her with eyes that were both kind and perceptive. Different situations, similar wounds. The loss of trust is itself a trauma. Does it ever completely disappear? Melissa asked impulsively. The pain? Elena didn't pretend to misunderstand. No. But it changes. She touched the silver ring on her right hand. An open wound becomes a scar. Scars remind us of the past, but they don't determine our future. They're proof of healing, not just injury. These words stayed with Melissa, giving meaning to her daily choices, selecting materials that would age with grace, turning limitations into features in her designs. Small metaphors for her own rebuilding. By June, she found a new apartment in a neighborhood Ethan had dismissed as too artsy. Smaller than her previous home, but with good natural light and a balcony for growing herbs and flowers. Nothing like the sleek, impersonal place she had shared with Ethan. That was precisely why she chose it. The day she signed the lease, she received a call from an unknown number. Before answering, she knew it was Ethan. I heard from the lawyer that the final papers are ready, he said. His voice was subdued, tinged with regret. I'm sorry it ended this way. Standing in the empty living room of her new place, sunlight streaming through the bare windows, she replied, I'm not sorry anymore. After a long silence, he said, You deserved better. Yes, she answered quietly. And now I'm creating that for myself. She ended the call and stepped onto the balcony, taking her first deep breath in months. For the first time, the future didn't seem frightening. Instead, it seemed to be calling to her with a gentle persistence that felt like hope. By July, Melissa was finding her rhythm in her new life. The divorce had been settled on terms favorable to her, and the shelter project was progressing toward its August completion. Somewhat surprisingly, she had begun attending a support group called Healing After Betrayal. The most painful part wasn't the betrayal itself, said Diane, who sat next to Melissa. A woman in her 50s, she had discovered her husband's decade-long affair with her best friend. While I was living a real life, they were building a fantasy on the sacrifice of my truth. Every precious memory now has a shadow. You start questioning everything, Melissa nodded quietly. My husband's business trips, late nights, even my sister's offers to help. That need to know tortured me at first, Diane continued. But when I finally learned the truth, it ultimately set me free. The group had become an unexpected source of support. Here, she wasn't the woman whose husband left her for her sister, but simply a survivor, someone rebuilding. One late July morning, she woke to find a message from an unknown number on her phone, Ms. Grayson, I need to speak with you. I'm a former colleague of Ethan's. It's important, could we please talk by phone? After hesitating, Melissa replied, I'm available at 12:30 during my lunch break today. Just after noon, her phone rang. This is Vanessa Martin. I left Ethan's firm last month, the woman's voice was tense. Why are you contacting me? I think you should know, Vanessa paused to take a breath. Ethan and Brooke's relationship isn't the destined love they claim it to be. Ethan was involved with multiple women at the firm while with you and your sister. I was one of them. Melissa stood by the window, gazing at the view outside as she listened quietly. Why are you telling me this? I saw their engagement announcement in an architecture newsletter last week. It was presented as this beautiful story of love rekindled after divorce, anger edged into Vanessa's voice. I couldn't stand it. He used the same words with all of us. You're the only one I love. It's over with her. The exact same phrases. After the call, Melissa recognized an unexpected emotion within herself. Not anger or sadness, but relief. Knowing their destined love story was a complete fabrication erased any lingering attachment she might have felt. That weekend, the shelter project held a pre-opening event. The former office building had been transformed into a sanctuary with warm communal spaces, children's rooms, and a garden that symbolized hope. This is exactly what I envisioned, Elena said, placing her hand on Melissa's shoulder. A place where safety and dignity coexist. After the ceremony, Judge Helen approached Melissa. It's been an honor working with someone of your talent, she said. Actually, I have another proposal. A youth center project. Midway through their conversation, Grace rushed over with urgency. Sorry to interrupt, she was holding a tablet. Look at this. It's spreading through industry forums. The screen showed an architecture industry news site. The headline read, Weston and Partners loses Taylor project over ethical concerns. Ethan's firm had lost a major contract. It says, according to inside sources, concerns about the personal conduct of senior partner Ethan Weston were the primary reason, Grace read. Apparently, the industry now views him as untrustworthy in professional and personal relationships. How did that happen? Melissa asked in surprise. Rumor has it someone leaked a recording. Who wants to live in a building designed by a man with no morals? Grace shrugged. Karma, I'd say. Melissa looked at the article with mixed emotions. She hadn't orchestrated this. She'd only gathered evidence to protect herself. Still, truth finds its way. You didn't do anything, did you? Helen quietly asked. No. That's not my style, Melissa answered honestly. Good, Helen nodded. In my experience, truths cannot stay hidden forever. Especially truths that hurt others. A few days later, her phone rang. Melissa. Ethan's voice was smaller than before, less confident. Can we talk? Only through our lawyers, she calmly said. Please, he said. Things are getting difficult at work. The rumors, can you do something? That's your problem, she answered evenly. Would you consider giving our relationship another chance? His voice trembled. It was a mistake. The thing with Brooke. Ethan, she spoke gently but firmly. We are finished. This is the last conversation we'll ever have. Before he could say anything more, she ended the call. Then she blocked his number completely. A sense of liberation washed over her. His words no longer reached her heart. Melissa stepped onto her balcony and took a deep breath. The city's distant noise hummed below, and her potted herbs glistened in the sunlight. That weekend, the support group coordinator contacted her. Would you speak at our retreat for newcomers? Your experience could inspire many people. Melissa accepted without hesitation. I'd be happy to. If I can help. Returning home alone later, she found a letter in her mailbox. It was from Brooke. Opening it, she read the brief message, Melissa, I haven't had the courage to reach out. I broke up with Ethan. I'd like to see you to talk. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just want to talk. If you're willing, at this cafe. Brooke. Melissa read the letter several times. Though her anger had faded, the wound wasn't completely healed. Nevertheless, she wrote a reply, "Brooke, I can meet at 10 a.m. on Friday. I can listen. I can't promise anything more. Melissa." In a small cafe, Melissa sat at a terrace table. Steam rose from her tea, dissolving into the morning air. When Brooke appeared, she barely resembled her former self. Thinner, with shadows under her eyes, her once confident demeanor gone. "Thank you for coming," Brooke said softly. "I don't know where to begin." "Why not start with the truth?" Melissa gently prompted. Brooke took a deep breath and began. She spoke of meeting Ethan in college, the feelings she couldn't sever after Melissa's marriage, and their recent breakup. "He did to me exactly what we did to you, with other women." "I know," Melissa said. "He betrayed me just as we betrayed you," tears welled in Brooke's eyes. "Karma, I suppose. But I'm truly sorry. I never meant to hurt you. In the end, I lost the sister I loved most." Melissa remained silent for a moment. Then, she said honestly, "I can't forgive you yet. It's not that simple. But I can't hate you forever either." "That's more than enough," Brooke offered a faint smile. "Your life is your own now," Melissa said. "Like me, you'll have to rebuild it yourself. Not depending on others." Before they parted, Brooke asked, "Will we see each other again?" "I don't know," she answered truthfully. "It will take time. Focus on your own life first." 1 year later, on a summer afternoon, Melissa was locking the door to her small design firm, Grayson Interiors. Her company, specializing in trauma-informed spaces, was growing rapidly. Clients now included women's shelters, counseling centers, and increasingly, private homes. "I've emailed next week's presentation materials," said Zoe, her young assistant. "And Judge Helen called about the garden project. Your proposal was approved unanimously." "Thank you," Melissa smiled. "Have a good weekend." On her way home, she stopped at a new photo gallery opening. Her work, portraits of women from the shelter, was displayed prominently. The exhibition titled "Faces of Hope" had grown from her volunteer work. "Beautiful exhibition," a voice said from behind her. Turning, she saw Elena. "You came," Melissa embraced her. "I wouldn't miss your success," Elena said. "The support group members are here too." Across the gallery, Diane and other friends were viewing the photographs. They were no longer just wounded people, but friends celebrating new chapters in each other's lives. That night, returning to her apartment, Melissa stepped onto the balcony. Now a small garden of herbs and flowers thrived there, alongside a stone bench that caught the morning sun. Under the stars, she took a deep breath. Where once there had been only pain, now there was calm and hope. She truly understood Elena's words, "When wounds heal, they become wisdom." Sipping her tea, Melissa contemplated tomorrow's schedule, teaching a photography class, meeting about a new project, and what she looked forward to most, an art workshop with children from the shelter. Her phone chimed with a message from Brooke. "The exhibition was wonderful. I'm proud of your work. I hope we can talk again sometime." Melissa didn't reply immediately, gazing at the stars instead. Complete forgiveness might still be in the future, but she had certainly released the burden of hatred. Later, she would reply simply, "Thank you." The gentle night breeze caressed her hair. People can rise again after being wounded. They can find new joys after loss. Not everything in her life was perfect. It wasn't a life without scars. But it was undeniably the path she had chosen for herself. Within her lived strength, hope, and peace. And that is the true victory.